How are you? I'm fine, thank you, and I hope you're all well today, and I hope that you've had a great weekend so far. Today I'm going to read from this, my favourite Bible stories book, and I am going to read a story called Esther, and Esther was an amazing young woman. So, let's begin. Israel's people, the Jews, had by now been scattered all over the place in foreign lands. They were ruled by foreign kings and they felt really far away from God. But guess what? God never forgot them. This is a story of how a girl called Esther played a big part in one of God's rescue missions for his people. Esther didn't have a mum and she didn't have a dad, but she did have an uncle called Mordecai who looked after her. Mordecai and Esther lived in Susa and were ruled by King Xerxes. One year Xerxes sent out a search through his entire kingdom to find a new queen. Now Esther was beautiful. She was a beautiful girl. She was beautiful to look at, but she had a beautiful heart as well. And as soon as the king saw her, she was chosen. Suddenly the orphan girl had a crown on her head, but she never told anyone that she was Jewish. Shh, it was a secret. The villain in this story was a man called Haman. We'll call him Horrid Haman. Haman made everyone bow down to him everywhere he went. I think he was a very proud man. But Esther's uncle Mordecai never did. This made Haman really angry, and he wanted to punish Mordecai and all of the Jewish people by wiping them out. So Horrid Haman went to the king snivelling. There are a people group in your land who are different from us. They deserve to die. King Xerxes said, do what you think is best. So Haman announced that all the Jews were going to be killed. Oh no! Mordecai went straight to Queen Esther and he said, go and plead for your people. Maybe you have come to a high position for such a time as this. Now, Esther was scared. She wasn't allowed to just go and see the king, even though she was his wife. She wasn't allowed to just go and see him. If anyone went to see the king without his permission, and he didn't hold out his royal staff, which was a special stick, that person would be killed. It was the law of the land. Now, I don't know if you remember, but when we read the story of Daniel in the lion's den, when the king made a law, he couldn't change it. And it was the same here. When the king made a law, he didn't change it. So if the king was in a bad mood and he didn't hold out his stick to say, yes, come here, she would be killed. But Esther took a deep breath and said, get all the Jewish people to fast and pray for me for 1, 2, 3 days. Now, do you know what fasting means? It means when you don't eat anything because you are praying to God, and that is all you are thinking about is praying to God. The Jewish people were very scared, so they did it. And she said, then even though it is not really allowed, I will go to see the king, and if I die, I die. She was being very brave. And so all of God's people prayed for Esther, and they prayed for God's rescue. They did that praying and fasting for 3 days. After the 3 days, it was time to be brave. Esther took another deep breath and she walked right into the king's throne room. As soon as the king saw Esther, he held out his royal staff. Phew. He beamed, my queen, what can I do for you? I think he really liked her. Esther invited him and Haman to a special feast. At the feast, the king again asked what he could do for Esther. And Esther said, please may you and Haman come to another feast tomorrow. Now I think she was so scared to ask that instead of saying, please let the Jewish people go and don't kill them, she was too scared to ask. So she said, please can you come for dinner again? And the king, horrid Haman, was over the moon. Oh my goodness. And he boasted to everyone about his special dinners with the king and the queen. But at the second feast, the king asked once more. I think he knew she was worried about something. My beautiful queen, what can I do for you? Esther took yet another deep breath and said, please, my king, save my people. The king thundered, who is trying to hurt you and your people? And Esther looked straight at Haman and said, Haman is. The king was really angry. And after that, Haman was never seen again. The king told the Jews that they could defend themselves from attack, and this made all the people in the land want to be their friends instead of their enemies. Look, and here is a picture. There is the queen sitting next to her king. Here is Haman, and here are all the servants sorting out the food. Isn't that amazing? So they all wanted to be their friends instead. Esther had trusted God and had been so brave, and God had rescued his people. So we can do hip hip hooray 3 times. You ready? Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! And here is a little drawing of a little angel. How cute. So think about this, guys. Esther was brave and courageous. She spoke out against the things that were wrong and unfair in her world. With God's help, she saw her people rescued, and it wouldn't be long before the rescuer would be on the way. So close your eyes. If you're at home, close your eyes and imagine what it would be like to walk into the king's throne room not knowing whether you would live or die. That was so brave of Esther. So let's pray. Put your hands together, guys. Close your eyes. I'm going to pray. Dear God, thank you that you care about what happens in our world. Help us to speak out against things that are wrong and unfair, and really help us to make a difference. And we ask this in your name, Lord, that you will help us and all the children at home, wherever they are, Lord, help us to make a difference. In your name, amen. Brilliant. What a fantastic story about an amazingly brave young woman. Okay, guys, it is time to say see you again next week. And hopefully next time you will see Lulu. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye. We want you to have a go at this week's Bible verse memory verse. So learn it, get your parent or a grown-up to film you, and then put it in LCF Kids. You'll get a prize every time.
Proverbs 3 verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.